Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Live at 5 Nursing News You Can Use. I'm your host, Tina Baxter. Welcome to those of you that are on our Baxter Professional Services page, those of you who are joining us from the Nurse Shark Academy page on Facebook, and those that are joining you on YouTube. Welcome. All right, let's go ahead and get into it. Today is October the 25th, 2023. There's a lot of news to cover, but I always like to start and end with the positive. So let's start with our affirmations for today. So this is from George Bernard Shaw. Life isn't about finding yourself. Life is about creating yourself. Life isn't about finding yourself. Life is about creating yourself. Be yourself. Everyone else is already taken. That's Oscar Wilde. Be yourself. Everyone else is already taken. And our last inspirational quote for today: I exist as I am. That is enough. From Walt Whitman. I exist as I am. That is enough. Walt Whitman. These are the inspirational quotes compiled by Lauren Dratch and the Inspirational Daily Calendar. All right, let's get into the news. Here's our first story coming out of Detroit. All right. This is Ascension, Michigan to integrate with Henry Ford Health, as reported by Healthcare Finance News. Henry Ford Health and Ascension, Michigan have signed an agreement to integrate Ascension's Southeast Michigan and Genesis healthcare facilities and assets with Henry Ford's. The expanded organization, to be branded Henry Ford Health, would remain headquartered in Detroit. It would be led by Henry Ford Health President and CEO Bob Riney and governed by a board of directors representative of both organizations. The combined organization would employ approximately 50,000 staff at more than 550 sites across the region. Ascension, Michigan's acute care hospitals that are included in the partnership are Ascension Genesis Hospital, Ascension Macomb Oakland Hospital, Warren and Madison Heights campuses, Ascension Providence Health, Novi and Southfield campuses, Ascension Providence Rochester Hospital, and Ascension River District Hospital and Ascension St. John Hospital. All the acute care hospitals' related sites of care will also be included, as well as Ascension Brighton Center for Recovery. So, if we've reported previously on this show that there has always been a concern with these big hospital chains coming together and with possible implications then for decreasing access to care. If your insurance doesn't take one hospital chain, maybe another one. Others that they can kind of almost corner the market on prices. This is something that has been in consideration in the state of Indiana. So with the three big major players in the state of Indiana kind of almost holding a monopoly. And so that's what economists have said is key to driving the healthcare costs up in Indiana. So this is something for us to keep an eye on and see what's happening. It goes on to say that the integrated network would focus on population health and community initiatives, as well as innovation in academic medicine and advanced complex care. This expanded care network would create greater opportunities to coordinate, grow, and adapt services and care settings to meet consumer needs in the new post-pandemic normal by expanding access to care, lowering costs, and improving healthcare outcomes, according to Henry Ford. So we'll see what happens. They said it could provide expanded opportunities for healthcare providers. We will see. So the organizations are in the process of submitting the agreement to state and federal regulatory agencies for review. So it says in September, Ascension released financial results for the year ended June 30th, reporting a net loss of $2.66 billion. And so we reported on that previously, that Ascension has lost billions of dollars. Yes. The health system said the results demonstrate its operations and volumes have been impasse and are stabilizing from the volatile and operational disruptions of the prolonged pandemic amid broader inflationary and recessionary pressures within the U.S. economy. These disruptions have contributed to higher operating costs coupled with revenue challenges, especially in the first half of the fiscal year. So Ascension, based out of St. Louis, Missouri, operates 139 hospitals in 19 states. So you're seeing where they're kind of sort of selling off the hospitals and merging with other places to kind of mitigate some of those losses. So Dr. Adamon Kumara, president of the Care Delivery System and chief clinical officer at Henry Ford, said the commitment of the new combined organization to clinical excellence, educational partnerships, and research remains steadfast, as is the focus on continuing to advance research that has immediate clinical applications and will improve treatment and outcomes. Additionally, the expanded footprint created through this joint venture will allow Henry Ford to provide outstanding comprehensive medical care, train more physicians, nurses, and allied health professionals at more sites and in more specialties across the communities we serve. So we'll see what happens. It says from Carol Schmidt, Senior Vice President of Ascension, says we are united in our shared values, cultures, and commitment to those we serve. So we'll see what happens with this, but we'll keep a close eye on the story. And any further developments, you hear about it, let me know. Those of you that are in Detroit, what do you think about this? Give us an insight and how the public is feeling about this. And if you work for one of those hospitals, give us some insight as to what could possibly potentially be happening. All right. So this is a report that has interest to those of us who are here in Indiana as well as across the nation. This is from UPI.com. And it says bipartisan group of lawmakers push back on proposed nursing home rules. U.S. Representative Greg Pence, from right here in Indiana, and other bipartisan leaders are expressing concerns about a proposed rule that sets minimum nursing requirements and standards for nursing homes throughout the country. The proposed rules from the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services issued on September 1st under the directive of the Biden White House seeks to set forth staffing requirements and other standards for nursing homes. In a joint letter addressed to the Department of Health and Human Services on Monday, Pence, Republican from Indiana, and fellow Representatives Brett Guthrie, Republican from Kentucky, Vern Buchanan, Republican from Florida, Michelle Fishback, Republican from Minnesota, Jared Golden, Democrat from Maine, and Chris Pappas, Democrat from New Hampshire, conveyed apprehensions that the requirements might result in limited access to senior care for facilities that are already struggling. According to Pence, he says, at a time when nursing homes are already experiencing healthcare worker shortages and financial hardships, CMS and the Biden administration should not be implementing a regulation that would only exacerbate this issue. This one-size-fits-all regulatory requirement will result in many negative consequences, and I strongly urge Secretary Becerra to reconsider this proposal. Guthrie also stressed the need to address workforce issues instead of imposing unfunded mandates. So Guthrie goes on to say, I am pleased to join with Representatives Pence, Fishback, Golden, and Pappas to express our serious concern about the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid's proposed rule, which would lead to significant reductions in care for long-term care residents, especially in rural communities. So according to Pence's office, various organizations, including the American Health Care Association, National Rural Health Association, National Association of State Veterans Homes, Lutheran Services in America, Council for Health and Human Services Ministries, and Leading Age have all expressed support for the joint letter. So just a reminder that under the proposal, nursing homes participating in Medicare and Medicaid would need to provide residents with a minimum of 0.55 hours of care from a registered nurse per resident per day and 2.4 hours of care from a nurse aide per resident per day. And so again, when we look at these rules, one of the things that was pointed out, we talked about last week or the week before, is that they forgot to factor in licensed practical nurses. And so that can become a problem. That they're not counting in this staffing matrix. And so that kind of leaves facilities in a quandary. And so I happen to agree that maybe they should rethink the staffing rule because it doesn't account for licensed practical nurses. And maybe what it should say is provide a number of hours of care from a licensed nurse with oversight from a registered nurse. I don't know how best to word it, but I think that that's something that needs to be considered. So CMS estimates that about 75% of nursing homes would be required to bolster their staffing levels to comply with the regulations. So there are similar measures that are going on in the state level. We'll see what's happening with that, but we'll see how it all shakes out with this. All right, this is more on the Nightingale, the Florence Nightingale federal investigation that closed down the fake schools. And so I always like to make sure I give all the information that I can when I'm reporting these stories. And so there's a follow up to the story that we reported last week of the nurse in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, that had her license revoked. And so there's a response from that. So I wanted to share that with you. This is coming from the Gazette and the Iowa Capital Dispatch. It says a Cedar Rapids woman is contesting the state's decision to revoke her license, arguing that she's the innocent victim of a Florida diploma mill that awarded her a fraudulent degree in nursing. According to the records of the Iowa Board of Nursing, Helena Donway first submitted an application for licensure in Iowa as a registered nurse in early 2019. At the time, she indicated that she received her nursing associate degree in 2017 from MedLife Institute in West Palm Beach, Florida. Her college transcript says she attended the institute for 10 months from February 2017 through December 2017. Wait a minute. That math's not mathing. So Dawei passed the National Council of the NCLEX basically in 2019, and 1 month later, the Board of Nursing granted her license. In 2021, the National Council of State Board of Nursing announced that an FBI investigation codenamed Operation Nightingale into nursing education programs suspected of selling fake diplomas and transcripts. One of the businesses implicated in the investigation was the MedLife Institute. It and others were alleged to have sold diplomas and have encouraged students to apply for licensure in states thought to exercise a lower level of scrutiny on practitioners, and in states like Iowa that do not limit the number of times a person can take the NCLEX exam. So, according to the board, Dawei acknowledged that she did not participate in any nursing coursework or clinical education at the institute, but did take a review course for the national licensure exam. So she's saying that she took a review course and thought therefore her education was legit. Okay, we're going. We're going. So, in May of 2023, the Board of Nursing accused her of fraud. She contested the charge, and at a board hearing on the matter in July, she argued that she believed her degree was legitimate. The board ruled that it did not find her claims to be credible. In September, it revoked her license, stating that the wrongdoing in her case was particularly egregious. Darwin recently filed a petition in Polk County District Court seeking judicial review of that decision, arguing that the Florida school had, quote, preyed upon her and that her application for an Iowa license was made in good faith. She also argues that the board incorrectly concluded that she had knowingly provided the board with a false college transcript. Okay, let me just say this. Okay, let's just say that it's true. She thought she had a real transcript. Maybe she was duped and she sat for this exam. That still does not change the fact that she had no training as a nurse. She took a review course for the NCLEX. Nowhere did it say anywhere in this article that I can find that it says she actually went to nursing school. That's amazing to me. I'm like, okay. So, if any of you out here have any insight to it, yeah, let's talk about it, because I'm flabbergasted by that one. Okay, so that's what brings me up to this story, because I thought that would be a good idea to go and come back to this story. Let's go to Connecticut, because once again, we have a school accused of massive fraud. So this says owners of Connecticut Nursing School committed a massive fraud, Attorney General and expanded complaint. This is from WTNH. Connecticut is expanding its case against Stone Academy 8 months after the school's abrupt closure in February, Attorney General William Tong announced Monday. Tong filed a 22-page amended complaint under Connecticut Unfair Trade Practices Act, alleging that the owners of Stone Academy siphoned millions of dollars through unfair and deceptive practices that left hundreds of students scrambling. Tong said, "We are finding ever more disturbing information." The complaint alleged that the school's owners, Joseph Bierbaum and his stepfather, Mark Scheinberg, paid themselves nearly $5 million in distributions during those 2 years, despite exam pass rates faltering and students not receiving the proper tools and materials they would need. It goes on to say, as Stone enrolled more PN or practical nurse students than it could handle at the height of the COVID-19 pandemic, its revenues swelled. Stone's net income increased from approximately $660,000 per year in 2019 to well over $3 million per year in each year of 2020 and 2021. However, the state said students at the school never benefited from this money. It says, given almost none of it money back in the form of services, textbooks, they can't even get heated classrooms and definitely not qualified instructors. So where did the money go? The Attorney General said it went to places like Bierbaum's $1.4 million, 9,000 square foot home in Rocky Hill, luxury cars, and their other businesses. But the bigger question is, will nursing students get their $30,000 a year in tuition back? So he goes on to say that the owners committed a massive fraud, feels like and looks like a huge Ponzi scheme to line their pockets. All I care about is holding them accountable and making these students whole. News 8 contacted Bierbaum's attorney, Craig Rabe, who said they are, quote, not commenting at this time. They're going back to court November 1st for a pre-judgment remedy. So we'll keep an eye on this. It also has gotten state Republican leader Kevin Kelly involved, who issued a statement applauding the Attorney General for pursuing justice in this matter. So we'll continue to see what happens in the fallout from Stone Academy's closing. All right, this next story is looking at the University of Kentucky, and this is coming from KentuckyToday.com, and it says 5 cases of highly contagious fungus reported at UK Healthcare. And I'm bringing this up because, one, I want people to be aware of it, but two, it also kind of impacts the state of Indiana, so it's important to know. So if you're a nurse working in Kentucky, this is in Lexington, this is something for you to look at. So officials with UK Healthcare reported on Tuesday that they currently have 5 cases of patients with the fungus Candida aureus, which is isolated to one floor at UK Chandler Hospital in Lexington. According to the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the CDC, Candida aureus, or C. aureus, is a type of yeast fungus that can cause severe illness and spreads easily among patients in healthcare facilities. It is often resistant to antifungal treatments, which means that the medications that are designed to kill the fungus and stop the infections do not work. The CDC says C. aureus mostly affects patients with severe underlying medical conditions requiring complex medical care. So you're looking at patients with breathing tubes, feeding tubes, catheters, urinary catheters, etc. Healthy people with without these risk factors, including healthcare workers and family members, have a low risk of infection. In a statement, UK Healthcare says, currently, all cases have the fungus on their skin, but it is not causing an active infection, and there are no active infections with Candida aureus at UK Healthcare. Our team quickly identified the pathogen and began isolation and disinfection precautions to prevent further transmission. Candida aureus is a type of off fungus that can be resistant to multiple antimicrobials and is responsible for outbreaks in healthcare facilities across the globe. So UK Healthcare is reporting no active infections, which is very important because the CDC notes that active infections can be serious, with more than 1 in 3 patients with invasive C. aureus infection, meaning if they've got sepsis, affect their blood, heart, or brain, that they could die. So the CDC has been tracking C. aureus Since 2013 through 2022, the Kentucky Department of Health reported 29 cases to the CDC, 22 of them in the past 12 months. So, looking at neighboring states, Illinois reported 1,044 cases, Indiana 177, Ohio 111, Virginia 62, Tennessee 8, Missouri 2, and none in West Virginia. So I'm saying that this is something on the public health spectrum. Hey, we need to be aware of that. So nurses, make sure you're washing your hands and sanitizing and doing the things that we are supposed to do. All right, moving on to our next story. Because again, there's a lot to cover today. There's a lot that's happening in the news and just trying to keep up. So according to this Health Watch from CBS News, healthcare workers say workplace harassment doubled from 2018 to 2022 in a recent article and study. So it says that 13.4% of healthcare providers have reported verbal abuse. With an increase, the study also found that healthcare workers who reported being harassed also increased the odds of reporting anxiety, depression, and burnout compared to those who were not being harassed. Staffing shortages were also noted to play a role in healthcare's poor mental health. So I wanted to point that out. It's not something we didn't know, right? Those of us that are in the field kind of know people are getting mean. They're getting downright mean. So here's another story, and this is something that we've been talking about in other areas as content creators, etc. But it's also pervasive in healthcare. And this is coming again from Healthcare Finance News, and it says healthcare chatbots may promote racist misinformation. Chatbots based on large language modules, or LLMs, are being integrated into healthcare systems, but these models may be perpetuating harmful race-based medical beliefs that could be particularly harmful to Black patients, according to a new study published in Nature. The researchers assessed 4 large language models with 9 different questions that were interrogated 5 times each, with a total of 45 responses per model. All models had examples of perpetuating race-based medicine in their responses. The LLMs are being proposed for use in healthcare setting, with some models already connecting electronic healthcare record systems. But based on these findings, the LLMs could potentially cause harm by providing life support to debunked racist theories. So it says LLMs are trained on large corpuses of text data and are engineered to provide human-like responses. Some models, such as Bard, can access the internet. But the training data used to build the models are not transparent, and this might lead to bias. Such biases include the use of race-based equations to determine kidney function and lung capacity that were built on incorrect racist assumptions. And that's something I've talked about before. One 2016 study showed medical students and residents harbored incorrect beliefs about the differences between white and Black patients on matters such as skin thickness, pain tolerance, and brain size. These differences influence how medical trainees reported they would manage patients. So every LLM model that was put under the microscope demonstrated instances of racist tropes or the repetition of unsubstantiated claims about race. So it says most of the models appear to be using older race-based equations for kidney and lung function, which is concerning since race-based equations led to worse outcomes for Black patients. So, for example, I'll give you an example. If you're looking at the kidney function, it would adjust for Black patients to say that a lower GFR or filtration rate was acceptable in Black patients. And so you may not intervene as quickly as you would for Caucasian patients based on that, because it's, oh, well, for Black patients, that's normal. But for a Caucasian patient, it would be abnormal and you might have an intervention. So that's that's what they're talking about. And so this is something to watch, because as we see the rise of AI, there's been many studies that have shown that they don't do a good job when it comes to detecting differences between the races and making appropriate assumptions. All right. This is coming from the City News in Kitchener. The ONA accuses St. Mary's General Hospital of registered nursing cuts. So this is coming from Ontario. So just to let you know, this is in Canada. But I think it's important to know what's happening in other parts of the world. So it says the Ontario Nurses Association, the ONA, alleges St. Mary's General Hospital cutting registered nursing positions. The hospital told the ONA that they'll be cutting 11 full-time and 6 part-time registered nurse positions. The hospital currently has 50 vacant RN positions. Angela Precanin, the first vice president of the ONA, said the hospital is replacing RN positions with registered practical nurses, which is the same as what we would say LPNs, to save money. She notes that moving RNs out of critical care areas is concerning because RPNs do not have the same training that RNs have. And that's what I was like, wait, you're moving them out of critical care? The RN positions that are cut have a serious impact on the quality and safety of patient care. The RN shortage, as it worsens, the number of complications increases among patients. So in July, an arbitrator awarded a pay raise to the nurses in Ontario. So you can see how this is happening. So St. Mary's has confirmed that there will be no nursing job losses, and nurses affected will be moved to different positions in the hospital, and started making changes to the new model of care back in September, and others will be coming in the next few months. So we'll keep an eye on this. It says in a statement that goes on to say, we continue to face many challenges as a healthcare system related to nursing and other clinical team shortages, growing and aging populations with complex care needs, and budget constraints. Changes made at St. Mary's to our model of care enable us to expand our teams to include a wider mix of professionals to serve our community, including registered nurses, registered practical nurses, personal support workers, and clinical aides. Working at their full scope of practice in a team helps our professionals deliver the right care for our patients and reduce the ongoing impact of nursing vacancies and how we meet the needs of our community. So we'll see what happens. We'll keep an eye on this trend that's happening in Canada. So let's talk about budgets and other things. This is kind of interesting. This is again from Healthcare Finance News. And it says physician cash compensation increasing and projected to rise. And I am not anti-physician, but I find this quite interesting that this is happening when we can't pay for nurses. But here we go. So it goes on to say that compensation for medical and surgical specialists climbed higher in 2023 and will only increase over the next several years, finds a new physician compensation report from Sullivan Cotter. The report reveals that most significant median total cash compensation increases for primary care at 9.5% and hospital-based specialties 8.7%, and finds increases across most specialty areas in 2023. With the anticipated shortage of primary care physicians projected to increase, healthcare organization leaders will confront sustained upward pressure on compensation for these roles moving forward. It says numerous market forces continue to influence health systems' strategic and operational focus for 2023, many of which are directly impacting the provider workforce, according to the report. Clinical workforce demands continue to outpace supply, which has been exacerbated by increased turnover and physician burnout, and has created upward pressure on compensation. Regulatory changes, including a proposed reduction in the Medicare conversion factor for 2024 and changes to split shared billing for 2025, continue to create challenges to financial sustainability and compensation plans. Plus, due partly to physician supply and demand imbalances, more healthcare organizations are working better to align physician and advanced practice providers' care delivery models and eliminate potential compensation barriers to team-based care delivery. The survey also reported that primary care had the largest increase of 7.4% in reported median work-related value units productivity from 2022 to 2023. The median work relative value unit is a standard unit of measure used to estimate the value for common healthcare procedures. So as primary care patient volumes have rebounded post-pandemic and these values have shifted, Due to the physician fee schedule changes, this jump is reported. The RVU productivity is expected. So across specialty categories, total cash compensation rates saw moderate increases over 2022. So here's a larger trend. It says the average pay for doctors was declined 2.4% in 2022, coming at a time when U.S. healthcare workers are facing significant challenges, including economic strains, according to a physician shortage and high rates of work-related burnout from Doximity. The report, which also includes self-reported compensation data from over 190,000 U.S. doctors over 6 years and 31,000 full-time doctors in 22, also highlights the substantial gender pay gap among physicians, with men earning nearly $110,000 more dollars than their women counterparts in 2022. This represents a 26% gender pay gap, even when salaries were controlled for specialty, location, and years of experience. This disparity may be contributing to an even higher burnout rate among women physicians, with nearly 92% of women physicians surveyed reporting overwork compared to 83% of men. So, just a little information to keep us going. That's one for you, docs. Okay. This I brought out because we're talking about burnout and all those things. And I'm wondering how much of that contributed to this very sad case. And so I want to say, first of all, issue a trigger warning, because this talks about domestic violence and death. So I wanted to let you know ahead of time, trigger warning. All right. So this is a story from the Hull Post latest news, and it's about a nursing student who was killed by a doctor had left an abusive relationship, according to her family. And this is really sad. A University of Michigan Flint nursing student was fatally shot in a murder-suicide after being kidnapped by her ex-boyfriend, who was a resident doctor. Gina Bryant, 25, was fatally shot at a truck stop in LaSalle, Illinois, by her ex-boyfriend, Justin Wendling, 26, who later killed himself hundreds of miles away in Iowa, the Macomb County Sheriff's Office said in a press release. Police said Bryant was last seen on October 12th by co-workers who grew concerned when she did not return after going home for her lunch break. They then began receiving, quote, odd text messages from her phone. A neighbor's surveillance footage showed Wendling had entered Bryant's home and was waiting for her when she returned home for lunch, then captured him, leading her to his car. The next day, Wendling called his parents and told them he had killed Bryant and he was going to kill himself. The parents called law enforcement, who then found Bryant's body at the truck stop at LaSalle. Surveillance footage and witnesses confirmed that Wendling had shot and killed her before fleeing. Wendling's vehicle was later located in Binterdorf, Iowa. As local police approached his car, he shot and killed himself, authorities said. Unfortunately, the MCSO is seeing an uptick of domestic violence cases. These cases are tragic not only to the victims and survivors, but to the family members as well. And this is from the Macomb Sheriff, Anthony Wickersham, who says, please, if you know someone who's in an unsafe situation, do not hesitate to reach out. Speaking to the Detroit News, Bryant's mother and sister said that she and Wendling had been in a relationship for about 11 months and moved in together, but Bryant moved out at the end of September and told them that he had been abusing her. She says she was a beautiful, down-to-earth, giving woman. She could brighten up a day with just her smile. She'd give you the shirt off her back. She was caring and compassionate. So the family also, friends and family, have also posted on social media honoring the aspiring nurse's legacy by sharing memories and heartfelt words. According to an email to students in Bryant's cohort and faculty sent by Cynthia McCurry, the dean of the University of Michigan Flint's School of Nursing, Bryant was in her senior year and enrolled in the school's accelerated BSN program. She says there are truly no words to fully capture the anguish that losses like this causes for our community. Gina was an extraordinary young woman with much ahead of her. I am personally struggling to make sense of the horrible news, as I imagine many of you are doing as well. In a statement to the HuffPost, Ascension Genesis Hospital, where Wendling was an obstetrics and gynecology resident, said it was fully cooperating with law enforcement during the investigation. A statement reads, Ascension Genesis Hospital has recently learned of the death of one of her residents. Emotional and spiritual support services are being offered to the staff and providers during this difficult time. So I just wanted to let you know, and again, my condolences to the family. But if you see something, say something, try to encourage someone. But then it also makes me wonder, again, going back, and I'm not making excuses. I do not know all the details. I do not know what he was thinking. I do not know what happened between the two of them. I'm not making any conjectures here. But it brings up the fact that I'm wondering if maybe that there could have been some help in the healthcare process and the healthcare system, some support, some mental health available to both him and her. Perhaps we wouldn't be here today. And that's why I bring that out. And to honor a fallen nurse to be. Okay. All right. This is coming out of the state of Washington. It says Washington State Nurses Association stands in solidarity with striking Peace Health workers. So again, this is another strike that's going on. This is a press release from the organization. And it says, on behalf of health workers at Peace Health Medical Center in Vancouver and Peace Health St. John's Medical Center in Longview, the workers are represented by the Oregon Federation of Nursing and Health Professionals. The Washington State Nurses Association stands in solidarity with striking Oregon Federation Nursing and Health Professionals workers at Peace Health Southwest Medical Center and Peace Health South St. John Medical Center. Registered nurses in these facilities, represented by WSNA, understand the high value of the work striking healthcare workers do, and we support the OFNHP's reasonable demands and negotiations. We look forward to both parties returning to the bargaining table as soon as possible. So the strike then involves 1,300 frontline healthcare workers from St. John and Southwest. They have been fighting for safe staffing, living wages, and a future for quality patient care. Nurses share the concerns of the OFNHP, and its members have voiced at the bargaining table as their members' working conditions are inextricably linked to our members' working conditions. And so I say that to say that yes, we want protections for the workers, we want safe staffing, we want protections for our patients. This is something that's happening all over the country. And my question is, when are healthcare leaders going to wake up? And this is our last story for tonight. And this is, again, a sad story. And I want to, again, issue a trigger warning because it does talk about the death of a person. And my condolences to the family, but I think this is important. So it says, woman shot at nursing home, her son arrested. And so this is coming out of Logan, West Virginia, WSAZ, and it says, a man faces a number of charges, including attempted murder, after his mother was shot Monday evening at a nursing home in Henlawson, the Logan County Sheriff's Department said. James Steed Biddle, 44, of Chillicothe, Ohio, is also charged with malicious wounding and wanton endangerment. Deputies say the 67-year-old victim was shot once in the chest. She was flown to CAMC General in Charleston, where she was listed as stable. The shooting was reported just before 5:15 p.m. at Trinity Healthcare Services, located in the 100 block of Bills Branch Road in Henlawson. Deputies say the suspect drove off in a silver Chevrolet truck and was stopped by West Virginia State Police on US 119 near the Chapmanville exit. That's about 4 miles where the shooting happened. Deputies determined Biddle entered the facility, walked into the victim's room that she shared with another woman, and then later left without asking for assistance or reporting an incident. After being stopped on US 119, Biddle was taken to the West Virginia State Police Logan detachment and read his Miranda warning. At the detachment, Biddle gave an audio statement in which he admitted to shooting the victim. According to Sheriff Timothy Johnson, the way he explained it to us was that he just drove down and she looked at him a certain way, and apparently he didn't like it. He presented a firearm that he concealed on his person and shot her in the chest. He's been since taken to jail. So they're working to get more information. I bring this up because I know that long-term care is the resident's home and all of that, but we have to be careful. People are coming in and out of the facilities. You have to be careful and be alert of what's going on. Secondly, this also speaks to the mental health care that's in our country. And so hopefully we can do more to take care of people and provide better mental health services. And as a person who is on the front lines of this and working in mental health care, I can't stress to you enough the importance to please take care of yourself. Um, and if you're struggling, reach out to someone. If you don't know who to call the 211 number, get the information from the state. We can find a place for you to go, um, and just help you. Okay? So please don't suffer in silence. And unfortunately, we let things go too long. All right. So those are all the stories. I don't really have a nurse making a difference today, but I do want to talk about something that's coming up. Just a reminder for those nursing students that are out there and anyone else, if you need a CPR class, we do have the full BLS certification class coming up this Saturday. Should anybody need to attend that class, now's a great time to get into that class. All right. So I just wanted to let you know that that is available. Also, um, we'll be having more classes and things coming up next week. I look forward to some of them, and then we'll be starting in November our 30 days of gratitude challenge. Woo! So you'll be seeing us on social media going live every day for 30 days to talk about our great gratitude challenge and our walk through the book of Psalms as we share what we're thankful for in preparation for the Thanksgiving holiday season. So I wanted to bring that up to you. Thanks for tuning in and have a great rest of your day. Bye bye for now.